Welcome Wednesday, friends. We are here again for another Vibe Rant, this time with my great friend, the one and only DJ Mike Winner. Whoop,
What
whoop.
up? Raise the roof.
What's up, dude? So if you guys somehow don't know Mike, he is the co-host of the absolutely legendary Alpha Cast and working with Barre Lando on Alfa Vedic, an incredible supplement and new world age of Aquarius style nutrition supplement company. Amazing stuff. So what's new, Mike?
Oh man, dude, loving life. It's just God, I love summers here, Chance. In the river every day, in the garden. Kids are back from summer camp. So yeah, man, couldn't be happier, dude. I'm quite blessed. I have an amazing life. So I just took the jump 10, 15 years ago to be my own boss and do my own stuff and not have a job. And it's paid massive dividends now.
Yeah, if you're like me, you work harder now that you don't have a job than when you had a job, right?
Dude, I know. Dude,
But it's fun. It's like funning. It's not like working slave style.
I was talking to my kids today about retirement and how I'll never that's a myth because and Bear, shout out to Bear Lando, that dude just crushes on the daily and he always reiterates like he's got friends that are quote unquote retired and they're just like waiting for the coffin, and it's like that's not what life's about, right? Life is the hero's journey and about finding out what's around the bend every day. And if you can do that and bring in a ton of abundance and at the same time that allows you to have a lot more experience using this stuff called money right now that they make us use, why not? So yeah, it's you're right though, it's busier than ever, but a really good busy.
Right on. Hey, everybody in the chat. It's good to see you all. A lot of great new faces and classic gangstas. Do us a favor and share this out wherever you might feel someone would like what we're going to be talking about today, which is music and sky, truth, love, and freedom. As you see on Mike's shirt, music and sky is a festival we're going to be at. We'll get to that. Alpha
I got to
Vedic
get you one of
stuff.
these shirts, dude.
Absolutely, dude. Yeah. So on the subject of what you're just talking about, I saw my parents tonight and my dad was just giving me all this like, you're not paying into Social Security. How are you ever gonna retire?
Wow.
I know. It's hard. There's like with that whole TV watching news believer type of mindset. Not saying my dad isn't as bad off as some TV watching news believers, but you notice this trend of like, and maybe it's a boomer thing. Love you, boomers. You're not all like this, but in terms of
Bear's a boomer.
exactly. Some stereotypes are accurate, but nothing's a blanket statement.
But he'll be the first to stereotype boomers, by the way. He does not back down on that. They piss him off because he sees like they went from the hippie 60s freedom generation to essentially completely, a lot of them selling out to the fake dream, right? The fake materialistic dream of 401k and retirement and all that. So yeah, it's my dad is a great example of somebody who is he's friends with Bear. He lives here with my mom and him. And he was the one telling me, when I was a teenager, like, don't listen to the news, like do what you want to do because it's all a smokescreen. So thank God, Dad. I know you'll never watch this, but thank you for being a badass.
Right. I've still never quite got the hang of the strategy of when that generation seems like a lot of them, everything out of their mouth is like, danger, that's scary. This is how you could get hurt doing that. You're not going to have enough money. And they really, really drilled in that whole lack fear mentality. And they don't, I'm generalizing a lot, but when someone's like that, they don't even see they're doing it. It's either complaint or warning or danger. And I'm over here being as careful as I can with my words, trying to turn every difficult feeling into a verb instead of a possession. And then other people are just on a whole different linguistic program.
Well, language is obviously extremely important, and also emotions. And having one thing that I've been really stressing a lot of late to myself, community, family is like having compassion for these people. We throw around the word normie a lot, which I don't like to use because it's demeaning and it's kind of like
not as bad as NPC. That's a bad one.
NPC Dude, I don't know, like we had a conversation on the Telegram, I think last week, bringing up that, and I personally don't believe that there can be an NPC if you incarnate on this in this realm. So now I'm not saying there isn't technology now, the AI kind of stuff, and who knows, maybe Biden, who I take this term from a dark journalist, calls him Stepford Biden, is some sort of you know, new technological construct in a some sort of grown bodysuit or something. I'm not putting that past their technology, but in terms of like the classical NPC idea that somehow there's like these empty shells, these soulless bodies walking around. For me, it just looking at how the natural laws work, and like how nature works. That's not possible. So I think it's just a way for us to justify our own ego. And I say us because we all fall for it. Because if we see somebody acting in a way that is annoying, or like, oh God, I wish they would just wake up, right? Like, oh, that's just probably an NPC, and that's our own stuff we got to work out. Instead of casting stones at that person as an NPC, maybe think, well, why is that person triggering you? What are they doing? That's, I mean, yeah, maybe they're injecting their kids with a terrible poison. I understand that. That's like, I get it. But everybody has a contract they've signed coming in here and has a role to play. And so let's not demean them by calling them an NPC. And I know that's not popular to say these days, Chance. I'm probably going to get some shit for that, but
Nah, not from this tribe. They get it. Yeah, it's totally just the same as like calling another skin color subhuman or something.
mm-hmm.
It's just that it's based on like ideology or beliefs, which is not that far away from any other form of zealotism. And back to my dad, I gotta just put out there that, like everybody, we're all developed in some areas more than others. And there's a lot of ways my dad's developed in directions I never did that are helpful, good directions, and grateful for all the support and like the base of my life that he built for me as growing up, and even all the different ways he helps me out still to this day. So, as frustrating as it is when sometimes people aren't getting it on levels that we would love to see them get it on, because obviously when you like realize the fear for what it is, the number one primary root of all illusion, it's so freeing, and you just feel good all the time. And
Yeah.
we want that for everybody.
Well, I also think the boomers have been victimized, or at least they saw what happened to their generation of all this, because the 60s generation, they were what we are trying to encapsulate and redo right now with stuff like Music and Sky. They're the motivation. They are like what we look to as far as that generation that actually bucked the trends and took huge risk and went out there and on a limb for showing that, hey, we can take on the system. And of course, they had the might of the deep state and all this stuff against them. And I think a lot of them were co-opted and controlled by really nefarious means. And your dad knows people that went into bankruptcy and were really hurt by maybe not being super responsible with their money and stuff because they didn't believe in money, let's say, right? So there is a pragmatic, like super practical approach that I think boomers have because they saw a lot of their generation get wrecked, right? And I will say that I've said this a lot, is that we do have the internet now, and I think the internet's giving us a big leg up now, a big leg up over their generation, because it's allowing us to have a connection like we've never had before, at least in our current, idea of what the history of mankind is in the realm. And it's allowing us to really kind of find each other in ways to have communication and community and awareness, unlike they had in the 60s, where they didn't have that. They had their communities and their, like, the Back to the Land movement and stuff, where they got isolated, and then they were able to get picked off, like group by group by group. And we're very fortunate because we now have, some very innovative things that are helping us. So shout out to that generation, though. I always give them love. And dude, I'm a huge fan of classic rock. Like, I've talked about how much I grew up loving Jim Morrison and the Doors, even though they were probably a huge part of the control system. you know, with the whole Laurel Canyon stuff and everything that went down with that. And, you know, of course, all the 27-year-old club and all that. But it's fascinating to see what happened in their generation. And I totally get where your dad's coming from, because my mom's the same way. She gets very concerned with, you know, not going by the traditional sort of protocols of what deems one to be successful in life, according to what they say.
Here's Stepford Biden. Thank you, Jennifer. This is incredible. Everybody tuning in, I'll drop the link in the chat in a second, or check the description of the episode. And there is a Telegram group where we have a call-in availability for Vibe Rant. So you can put memes like this, choice memes that are exactly like what we were just talking about, or a voicemail, you know, put a question in there. Anything goes.
That's great.
You know, if it fits where we're heading in the show, then I will put it up or play it. I'll do my best. So yeah.
Shopping for the latest adrenochrome flakes.
Yeah, there's even like the product in the background, sunlight.
I know, right? That's classic.
They're just like letting you know what the cult revolves around. But you know, maybe to round out that thought about the boomers, they did instill the idea of like a strong work ethic. It's just that we figured out that and some of them did too, but we figured out that work ethic could be applied to things that serve humanity more than the matrix, if you will.
The great generation before them, right? The World War II great generation, they were the ones that were like hard work and you know, salt of the earth folks. And you know, they're called the great generation that went off and fought wars and died, and you know, thousands of people died for what, right? So it's funny how they market these generations too, and how we have them believing in certain aspects because they get this collectivist idea of who we are generation by generation. I mean, I don't know if you're a millennial. I think you are, and I'm sorry that you are.
33, a millennial.
Yeah, you're so millennial. But like, because I'm the last like year of X-Gener, believe it or not. So I am X generation, the yuppies, right?
Like, you had way better raves.
Dude, we had real underground raves, and we also had life before cell phones. So it's like I grew up and even went to college. I've talked about this in a bunch of shows, like 90s lifestyle, where you had mystery still in your life because you had to actually go talk to people to find out what was going on. Like raves, you used to, I think we talked about this on InnerVerse a little bit when I was on, but like I remember going to raves where you didn't know, like it was kind of scary because you had no idea like what you were getting into. Like literally it was the 90210 show where you had to go get an egg and bring it to a guy in a dark alleyway. And then they would give you a number, you'd call the number and it'd be an answering machine. The answering machine would tell you to go to this like corner store at 11 o'clock at night. And then they'd have a flyer behind a trash can. And then that would give you coordinates. And then you'd be at some mountain party with like, you know, 500 ravers doing whippets and God knows what. But you know, not that it was that rosy, to be honest. You know, it was cool because it was like super counterculture and very much bucking the mainstream, but the consciousness wasn't there like it is now. Dude, consciousness is like at these kind of events, and we'll get into music and sky, is way next level now versus when I was going to 90s raves.
Gordy says we had punk clubs with vomit on the floor, so you didn't want to trip while you were moshing.
Dude, I love Gordy. You're the bomb. I feel like I know you guys so well, like Mario, Gordy, Gabriel, because I watch you guys all the time. I feel like you're brothers, and I don't even see. That's the internet. Like we've never even hung out. But I was a punk rocker. I grew up as a punk rock OC kid. Every Friday and Saturday night, we go to punk shows in LA and Orange County and stuff. And I love the mosh pit. I was definitely like the skinny kid with using my bony elbows with my baby arms. I got the baby arms. Gotta
do some curls, bro.
I know. It's funny, dude. I've actually was called out for my baby arms once in a virus debate with an admin for the Ice Age Farmer Discord. The dude got all mad and called me baby arms and then kicked me out. So what are you gonna do? I couldn't argue against the virus isolation issue, but I have baby arms. So hey, I was born skinny, man.
If that's the criteria to get kicked out, I guess it is what it is.
But yeah, dude, punk. It was funny because the punk aesthetic and the rave aesthetic were actually very similar back in the '90s. You know, it was before EDM and all the whole corporatization of dance music and electronic dance music and all that. But yeah, man, Music in Sky is definitely kind of the next iteration of this sort of, I hate to say consciousness festival, because that even now has like a certain like idea of what it is. And then what do we call it? Because you call it a sovereignty festival, then I guess you're not
Soul Family Gathering. That's
well,
what the
Soul
website
Family
says.
Gathering. That's what we're calling it. So yeah, it's really next level in that it's I don't know, everybody there just gets it, man. It's not like your typical kind of burner vibe where people are, and there's nothing wrong with that. I love Burning Man and all that, even though a lot of it went left and a lot of it went jabby, and unfortunately isn't really with the original intent of Burning Man. But and that's why we created Music at Sky, because it's a lot of ex-burners. But basically it's people that just get sovereignty, you know, and sovereignty is a heavy word these days, I guess, because there's like, I don't know, some people saying you know, you're not sovereign, because sovereign means that you're still under something. Like, you know, you're sovereign essentially means that, you know, king is the sovereign, right? You're ruling over people or you're being ruled over. But if you look at for me, you look at the etymology, it just means that you are the master of your own domain. It goes back to the French word souverain, and then the Latin. I haven't looked at this in a while, but then there's
yeah, let's check it out. Webster's 1828 dictionary. This is my go-to to
there you
really
go.
know what the word means.
I know it has something to do with super anus. I know it's like the vulgar Latin.
The magic is in the butt.
Yeah, dude, it's I don't think you pronounce it that way. It's super anus. But it is interesting that it does, if you look at the original Latin, a vulgar Latin, that the etymology, and I think it's an Indo-European, it's where it came from actually. And then the French, what are we looking at here? So souverain.
Yeah, the true spelling would be sovereign.
Sovereign, yes.
Sovereign, from the Latin supernes, superus. Well, you know, I get why some people take umbrage with the word, but words in the living language evolve their meaning over time. And we all know what we mean when we say sovereign. We don't really mean supreme, superior to all others, or chief, as in we're not trying to rule anybody. But
Exactly.
we do mean, you know, we're not the sovereign ruler of the universe, but the sovereign ruler of the universe being nature. We are that. So, you know, if we are all that, then we are all sovereign. I'm cool with that.
Well, Greg from the Law for Mankind course, The Sovereign's Way, he has an interesting point, saying he calls it the Sovereign's Way because the sovereign is the creator. And we are all, you know, so it's like, what is your perspective on that? If you take a Christian slant, then obviously you're not sovereign because you are the son of, you know, you are God is the creator, and we're humans that are his creation. But if you take a more sort of maybe hermetic approach or something, or, you know, like the law of one or something, well, we're all part of God, so we all are sovereign because we are the creator. We are the creator experiencing herself, itself, whatever. So that's kind of the more perspective I take, and that's why I use the word sovereigns, because for me it's just, yeah, like the master of your own domain,
right? And
so
we definitely, at least in the domain of our body, you know, no question about the fact that we have bodily sovereignty, and the ether that composes your body is not just connected to or not separate from the universal ether. It is the whole universal ether. You can't separate this ether over here from that ether over there. It wouldn't work as a pleromic medium if you could. So in a way, you are kind of the supreme ruler of the universe.
Yeah, exactly. It's pretty simple,
capital U.
When you know thyself, when you know yourself, you realize this, that you know everybody else around you. That's the whole point, right? It's like we're all one. So yeah. So anyways, I used to call it like a sovereignty, you know, like sovereignty festival, but now we just call it, yes, we're calling basically just the Soul Family tribe, you know, gathering or whatever. And it's just awesome people who love Alfa Vedic and are into, I'm sure a lot of people watch InnerVerse and they Crow 777 and like a lot of the podcasts we like, that they get it. A lot of realm folk, a lot of folk that aren't our globe skeptics, but also not. Like, it's not any. It's the only thing that connects everyone that comes to Music in Sky is that we have a respect for freedom and the individual, and the individual's ability to be creative and do what they want to do, and out of respect and love of their brothers and sisters. It's very simple. So it's a very diverse, very, very diverse crowd that comes. Like, what I love about Music in Sky, unlike your kind of classic, let's say Lightning in a Bottle or something, fun festival. Used to go to it back in the day. Like, literally the age group is from, I think our 4th of July event, we had I don't know, a 2-month-old to some people in their 80s were there. So, and they're all grooving, getting in the ice bath, doing yoga, listen to David Avocado Wolf go crazy about the flat earth. And what else he did, David Avocado Wolf did like a 2-hour lecture as that one of the keynote speakers last year in front of all these families about Aramon. Dude, it got like pretty deep. I'm like, so yeah, it's just a totally different type of festival, like very unique and different. And I'm stoked you're going to be there, Chance. I can't wait for you to experience it this year.
Yeah, dude, the whole vibe of camping festivals totally changed my life, upgraded me in so many ways. Like, I use that as a surrogate rite of passage in a culture that has no such thing for becoming an adult. And that might sound silly because festivals are kind of a party, but the first one I ever went to was like a life or death survival experience. So, and it taught me that, like, wow, if this can be what's going on, and I can still with the power of my mind choose that I'm going to have a good time, that means that I can do that anywhere, anyhow. And it was a huge life changer. So let's talk about some of the speakers, man. I'll come up here, pop this up. We maybe go through these people. This is exciting.
Yeah, and also just to give people a little bit of framework on the history of Music in Sky.
Sure. Let's start there.
Yeah, so it's interesting. So I come from a background of being a DJ for 20 years, doing raves and doing all events and stuff. And my partners as well, we're all LA based, and we're doing we're annual Burning Man attendees. And they would do a decompression event every year called Music in Sky. And so, and how amazing is the idea of music and sky? Like, these are two fundamental aspects of our reality that connect us all. Music, of course, sound, going back to the ether, going back to resonance, going back to celebration, art. That's what the music represents. It represents the art, creativity, our connection through our ability to be creative souls and all that. And then you have sky, the sky clock, the cosmology, spirituality, the grand scope of things, right? Like, what is the reality? Where can we go from here? It's kind of the future. It's the past. It's the all pervasive oneness. So we have the individual, which is the music. It's on the dance floor, yourself expressing your creative flow, whether you're an artist or musician or whatnot. And then you have the sky, which is the collectiveness. It's all of us together under the sky, under the cosmology of that. So Music in Sky, it actually is a pretty deep title or deep name for a festival when you start to really break it down. So they were doing this, and then 2020 hit, the grand coronation of the Great Reset, right? Kicked in with the Crown Fund, and in being in California, gruesome Newsom and there all the different lovely controllers said we're not allowed to do these kind of events. We are all locked down and not allowed to meet, and had to stay 6 feet apart and wear a mask and get your temperature checked and blah blah blah. And so we were like, whoa, we do an annual decompression thing and a mini festival, and what are we going to do? And everybody was stopping. All the festivals stopped. You probably remember this, Chance. Like, in 2020, the festival scene died. Nobody
what they did was they're like, oh, we are rescheduling for next year. Yeah. But we're not giving a refund. And I'm over here like, that isn't rescheduling, that's canceling, and the festival's just happening next year.
Exactly.
So you can't have a 2020 festival in 2021. That's a 2021 festival.
Well, some even just like postponed it for 3-4 months, some of the smaller like bass festivals and stuff, and then they just like 3 months came by pretty quickly and they're like, we're gonna do another 3 months or we'll wait till next year now. But you're right, yeah, it was pretty funny how they were just how, people basically, as you know, in the festival scene and the way the underground dance music is too, it had crystallized into a sort of corporate sphere, a corporate kind of very much an industry, right? Like there was by 2020, there was a festival in California on the West Coast festival scene every weekend from spring through fall. I mean, it was saturated and it had become big business, and it had a lot of these acts like, I don't know. I mean, name them like Bass Nectar or the bass acts or like Desert Dwellers and
Dude,
all these
have you
guys.
ever noticed that Bass Nectar's logo is the same as a book about mind control from
Yeah,
the 60s?
very interesting.
Yeah, I used to
Yeah.
do breakdowns about like certain festival acts and production companies and like their symbolism and things I've experienced at their events. And
So
it's just like the 60s movement. These
dude,
cultural directions are, counter
Insomniac. Insomniac.
insomniac.
Dude, I went to the first few, like as a kid, I went to the first Electric Daisy Carnival out in the middle of the desert, like dude, when I was, I don't know, 18 or something. And I knew Pasquale somewhat in those scenes. And he was a kind of a shady promoter guy. And so fast forward to the corporatization of their company, and literally we were doing like a somewhat conscious festival launching a crypto in 2018 called Outside an Equinox, and we were independent. We weren't going to work with any agents. We were booking some pretty dope acts. It's still, the website's actually still up. If you go to outsideinequinox.com, we did it at the place where they started Lightning in a Bottle and where they do Lucidity. Myself and my good buddy Xander, who goes by Traveler. Some people might know him. We put on this like independent festival, and they're like, "Yep, there it is." They're like, "No, no, no." This was in 2018, and this is where I launched Karma Ship, which was what is now Cordal, essentially. And dude, you'll like the lineup, dude. I know you're kind of a bass head, right? We had some good acts. If you keep scrolling down there, yeah.
Oh yeah, Random Rab. Hey, I love Haywire.
Yeah.
That dude's awesome. Funk Hunters.
Sober Rob. Justin J crusted on the house scene. 29 Palms was what's their names? They're a big act, but that was like their new kind of slower house act. Yeah, great lineup for an independent. So this was like an independent festival. So what does Insomniac do? They decide to last minute book a psytrance kind of weird festival at the same weekend at where Desert Hearts was doing their stuff to try to like ruin us. And then they canceled 3 days before, and just like really dark energy and really weird stuff. And that was the scene that had turned supposedly this consciousness music festival scene had gone really dark. And there was a lot of stories of women having bad experiences and, sexual stuff happening with certain promoters and DJs. And it was just the scene got really dark. So in a way, the coronation of 2020 was kind of a cleansing. It was
It
kind
was,
of
and especially like after all the Pluto antics that were going on, there was, I'm pretty sure it was Sky Clock related. There was this streak of time where like left and right, different artists and companies were getting outed for their misconduct in the bass music community.
Oh yeah. I remember some of that drama, and I try to stay out of that stuff, but it was a lot of really bad drug use, and ketamine was just out of control. And so anyways, what we saw this as a grand opportunity, like kind of like, wow, karma has really kind of dropped for us and allowing us to step in and actually create a new model for really what a festival should be. And because of my background with Alfa Vedic and understanding germ theory, the nonsense of germ theory and how like viruses are never been isolated and all this stuff, we had no fear of people coming to an event and coming down with something. So we decided, we're like, oh, this is perfect. Like everybody's hungry to come to a gathering. Let's just do one. Let's do an underground. Let's go back to our roots. Like let's literally do an underground festival, but do it in a totally new conscious way. So that's what Music in Sky became. We did it in Joshua Tree 2020. fall 2020, I think October 3rd that year at Garth's Boulder Gardens, which is an amazing venue, which we will return to eventually. It's a square mile of like in the desert and outside of Joshua Tree of just boulders and sand, and it's just this old hippie dude that bought it in the back to the land movement, and he was like, I don't care what the government says, you can come do your events. So it was amazing because we did try to work with some of these bigger acts. We were like, hey, let's get some dope acts, and they were all like, what's your protocol? Are you going to be doing temperature checks at the doors? Are you going to be doing 6 feet? Are the lines, everybody going to be placed 6 feet apart in the vending lines and the food lines? And we're like, no, we're not doing anything, we're just going to do a normal thing. And they're like, whoa. So we couldn't get any of these acts, any of them.
And now you know you didn't want them anyway.
Exactly. So what did? We just did it ourselves. We're like, we're all good DJs, and we had some friends. And so then the focus wasn't so much anymore on the music, because we knew we could handle the music. The focus was on community and around awake people that are seeing through the BS, and then around the content that we can bring in terms of talks, workshops, all that, which a lot of festivals do. But we want to go like way more intentional, and also it's very sober. It's a very sober festival because everyone's just basically high on meditation and on just hugs and
air,
yoga and air. Yeah, the ether.
Well,
so
to riff on the thing with the big artists, that is, and their whole like kowtowing to the woke culture. They aren't just like bowing to it, they are co-creating it by doing that stuff. And the other thing is, I believe part of the issue with and like just definitely entangled with the whole corporatization of the quote unquote underground music scene is that really we've been putting these DJs and even bands and famous people on a pedestal with a very low level of awareness of how that pedestal was even erected. That pedestal was erected with like advertising and marketing and them knowing the right people. And a lot of times that knowing the right people is no different than how you don't get anywhere in Hollywood unless you butter the right biscuits.
Exactly.
If you catch my drift. And I think it's very much the same in the music industry, even what is considered or like marketed as counterculture, just like you see totally mainstream Pepsi drinking, woke comedians talk like, marketing themselves as having being censored. I'm censored. That means I'm edgy. It's the same thing. Produced, faked, manufactured counterculture. And what you're talking about is the real culture, which is you and your friends. Yeah. We can do it, and we don't need a pedestal. We don't need like fame about it. Do you want to get on stage and play? Well, talk to us. Let's show us that you can do it, I guess. But it's not really about the whole. That's the thing about this. The occult aspect of these big events, especially in the vein of the Insomniacs and the Bass Nectars, is that there's a very real funneling of energy, spiritual currency that is going from, especially a crowd of a bunch of people with their chakras blasted open on God knows what substances, all focusing their intention and their worship. Like Bass Nectar called himself the king of the sound. Yeah. And there's definitely something going on there, like having done some psychedelics in my day and been to some big events in my day. This is anecdotal, not provable, but I have seen like portals created to siphon off the energy of the crowd, and very weird, troubling stuff. And that's what led me away from doing that type of thing, is that unlike a lot of people, as I was going, I'm not saying everybody's this way, but I wasn't there doing a substance fully recreationally. To me, it was like, there's a place that was a safe container to do it, where I wasn't like going to have to worry about and like showing up to work on time the next day and things like that. But for me, it was a spiritual experience. I was trying to like, figure out what the reality was and explore other domains of consciousness states. And I saw some stuff going on, like real dark occult sorcery shit. And I'll leave it at that. But I've talked about it before.
We saw it in Houston not too long ago. And that was that with that event. And I know a couple, and I don't
Which
want to
event?
call,
Which event is that?
you know, the one, what's it called? World. I've kind of even blocked it
Oh,
out of my mind.
Astro World, the
Yeah,
Travis Scott
the
thing, the
Travis
Travis
Scott thing.
tree.
Yeah, I mean, that thing was really kind of almost at the point now where it's so mainstream with the occult stuff that it was almost making fun of itself. It was like so out there and open about what it was doing, with literally a portal behind him and all the imagery. I mean, I'm sure you guys covered that ad nauseum when it happened. But there was definitely, I noticed that even back in the 90s rave days, like when you'd go into some of the like Happy Hard House rooms or even the jungle rooms and stuff, sometimes the energy was really dark, like channeling egregores or demons or something, you know, with everybody on really bad drugs too back then.
And
And
it connects. It's not another reason why this makes sense to me is that it goes back way further than just electronic music or the modern age or hippie Woodstock type shit. The powers that were have always established their control and energetic siphoning and acquiescence and obedience of the masses through events like this. I mean, whether it was called Saturnalia or Astroworld,
yep,
this is an old trick.
yep.
Bread in
Uh,
circuses, except the bread is laced with ergot.
Exactly. I'm thinking of like the Roman gladiator Nero time, right? It's like, I mean, that's what sports is. That's what, I mean, that's what's weird about living in the United States, is because we've been so inundated with corporate entertainment for so long, because that's like the American way. And I've completely abandoned it at all. I used to be a big time sports fanatic. Not that there's anything wrong with sport. Bear and I are big fans of athletics, but professional sporting events, even college, collegiate, it's all been corporatized. It's all a distraction and
It's all
abstraction.
mafia run. You can tell if you just run the gematria. You can,
Oh, I know.
there are people like my friend Derek, the gematrinator, who can, if he wanted to, he could predict who was going to win things, and he doesn't do that because he doesn't believe in using those abilities
Mhm.
for like gambling and shit. But it's real.
Yeah. Yeah. The Super Bowl was like when the most, yeah, I mean, it's dark, dark, dark stuff. But so, anyways, we were aware of all that, and we're over it already. And it was like, wow, well, we have a chance, because it kind of, ironically, because of the wokeism and fear of cancel culture and everything, there's no way these artists are going to step out and come to an event like ours, because of cancel culture, and like their whole, you know, career will be ruined and etc. And also there was a legitimate fear by a lot of these that they would get sick or something. So it was like, okay, well, we're gonna just step out on our own and do it, and show, you know, what's possible when you have a community come together based around truth, love, and freedom. And it was an amazing, amazing event. We opened up a vortex of beautiful, like harmonic energetics. We were, you know, a lot of times people roll their eyes around the whole like 5D concept, but literally we were like vibrating on a higher octave, because by the second or third day, I think we talked about this when I was on InnerVerse with you, but we're like psychic connection with the people putting the event on with me, like where I wouldn't have to get on the radio. I would just need them and they'd be there. We were like in this space where, and we do these events off grid, you know, nobody's on their phone. You don't really, you're not supposed to be on your phone. So everybody's really in tune, and we kind of like go back to our natural way of what we are and who we are. And it's amazing because you realize like, wow, we are, when we get connected just a little bit in a space for 3 or 4 days camping and together out in the middle of nowhere, based around this type of intentionality and this type of focus, like the stuff that we pull off was just groundbreaking. Like we just, it was amazing. So that's where Music and Sky kind of stemmed from. And yeah, it's just been phenomenal. Like the subject matter we talk about is stuff like Germanic new medicine, and like we go into stuff like the law, like the real law and trust law, you know, and the law versus legal. We touch on you know, a lot of things around health and wellness, but also a big focus is on creativity and essentially inspiring people to find their path and who they are. So it's very pragmatic too. You come to learn skills. Last year we had a guy doing fire starting workshops with a bow drill. You know, you learn how to make your own fire. All sorts of. This year, I'm hoping, dude, and maybe you can help me a little bit with this, because and I don't want to put him on blast here, but I love him to death. We're trying to get Mitch to come out to do a Organite workshop. My
You're
buddy
the second
Sam's.
person trying to get a hold of Mitch through me today.
Oh, that's funny. Well, I'm
No,
not trying to get
I'm
a
just
hold
kidding,
of
but
him because I talk with him all the time, but I'm just trying
oh
to
yeah, he's been on Alpha Vedic. Okay, cool.
yeah. No, we're connected, and our
Love Mitch.
community's been a huge supporter of him. Have like sold him out with all of his stuff.
Here's a Mitch piece
Nice,
right here.
nice. So I know you guys are homies. So, anyways, my buddy Sam, he's been to all the Music in Skies and is worked with, done some really cool stuff with Tower Busters and stuff. He's gonna hopefully help him out because we want to do like a kick-ass Organite workshop, right? Where kids and the families and everybody are there, and they get to leave with a Tower Buster at least, or an earth pipe or whatnot. So we'll have an extra ticket people can buy it, like a workshop thing they can buy into, so that will cover the materials and stuff, because it's getting more and more expensive. And then every day we'll have an Organite workshop going. Like, that's the kind of stuff that we do at Music in Sky. That's really fun. So it's you're learning skills, and you're coming away with things that are going to empower your life. You're not coming home with a hangover and God knows what else you get at some of these other festivals.
But not the cooties.
Yeah.
Sterling says his favorite moment was when Troy Casey got everyone to force cough as hard as they could.
Oh man.
In California, where everyone was terrified to sneeze, and he led us in a coughing fit.
Yep. Yeah. Troy was our host with the most for the first last year and the year before. He's a homie, certified health nut. He got a little too naked last year, but it's all good. Up on stage, like,
I've seen that happen.
Yeah. So, hey, Mike, for the kids in the back, what's your sun moon rising? Oh, that's a good question. So, basically, my birthday is August 24th, so it's coming up. But dude, I'm terrible at this astrological stuff. Sorry.
Well, that should put you on Virgo.
Well, I'm a Virgo, but I don't know what the moon and that stuff is, to be honest. I don't have to look that up again.
Somebody decode his astrology live in the chat.
Yeah, man,
go. That's cool. It's fun, but it doesn't stop. Knowing it or not knowing it doesn't really have a bearing on whether or not you just follow your conscience and do your best and be a good person.
Yeah. I mean, I've done so many different astrological breakdowns and stuff. I've just never really taken too much heart in that. I was just like, I don't know. I appreciate it. I know you guys are really into it. For me, it's just like, I just have always just gone with my intuition. And it was great. I just did a backpacking trip solo last weekend, because where I live, it's pretty remote already, but I decided, just spur of the moment, last Friday, I grabbed my dog and I was like, grab my backpack, because I've gotten into backpacking, and I hiked up 14 miles, 5,000 feet elevation. I mean, up and down. I think I was 3,500 feet up in the top of a mountain, not a soul around me for miles and miles and miles, and cowboy camped on top of a mountain under the most insane stars I've seen in a while, because it was kind of windy. So not a cloud in the sky. The moon was very, what is that, waning or waxing? I'm terrible at this stuff, Chance, but it was like no moon out last Friday. And so I was just lit up with the most amazing.
It's been waning, for the record.
Waning. Okay.
Getting smaller.
Yeah. So I had a very like psychedelic experience, totally sober. I mean, it was incredible. Not only was I looking at Sirius and seeing Sirius sort of, I do know the stars and stuff, guys. So so up here we have the Northern Triangle or whatever, Altair, Sirius, so like the three brightest stars, right? I swear they were starting to move in the stars. Like, it reminded me of that Moon Knight episode where he moves the sky. I kid you not, they started moving for me for a little bit. I was tripping out, and I was totally sober. This was like probably 1 a.m. It was very interesting. And no, it wasn't Elon Musk's Skylink or whatever. Yeah, Vega, Altair, and Deneb. Yep. So I was tripping out on that summer triangle, because it was sort of like shifting on me, dude. It was really interesting. But yeah, I saw the whole Milky Way, and then definitely saw a couple UFO stuff. Saw 4 falling stars. Um, and what is your? I was tripping out on the concept of falling star. When you, what is your idea of what a falling star is? Because when we're talking about the sky clock, right? And our idea, I think we probably have parallel ideas of really what the stars are in terms of what the point of them is as the sky clock. What is well, how would you explain then what a falling star is?
That is a great question. I'm going to be honest, I can't explain it. If we're talking meteor showers and things like that, there is a lot of mythology and mystery school traditions about beings being turned into a star at the like, and that's what ascension is. And to me, I was kind of like the idea that we come from the true north, the stillness of the center of the vortex, the pole star,
Mhm.
and then through a process of like we descend down to the density levels like where we are now. And so falling stars may be total speculation, total philosophy, but possibly beings that are coming from the state of pure undifferentiated wholeness and deciding to come down and incarnate in this realm, maybe.
That was exactly what I was thinking. So I was thinking it's the exact same thing. I was basically it was part of the reincarnation cycle of life streams that are returning to the
Because obviously
density. Or
not a lot of people are born and die all the time, and you don't see a shooting star for everyone being born, but maybe that's because most of the people are already circling the fishbowl or the pool, like they are doing a life, not really ascending, starting over. And then
well,
maybe
yeah,
the falling stars are beings that are like, I've had a great time being the undifferentiated, all knowing wholeness, and now I'm ready to go do some more laps in the Earth circuit.
well, yeah. I mean, the idea. What I was, once again, it was like the higher angelic sort of host that decide to come down. Is kind of like almost reminds me of It's a Wonderful Life, right? At the beginning, where they have the little stars talking, they're the angels. Do you remember that? And then he drops down to help him. And so, yeah, that's the idea. Is that you're right? It's not like the souls that are in the reincarnation cycle. It's the kind of the higher benevolent, say, ones that are coming down to help us. That is an interesting idea. But I was tripping out on that. I'm like, what are these things? Because I saw 4 of them within a span of maybe an hour and a half. It was pretty cool.
Could also
But
be something like chunks of the firmament,
mhm.
or if there really are waters above, maybe the firmament isn't as perfectly 100% sealed as we might think. Maybe there's
Mhm.
some kind of porousness to it that allows that mechanism of a falling star to occur. I don't know, because stuff does fall from the sky. That's one of the
Yeah.
interesting things too when you open up to a different cosmology. And I'm not saying I know what the realm is, but when you're no longer on a spinning ball, then a void vacuum of infinity is a tiny speck of nothingness separated from all meaning or truth. Then these questions get way more interesting, and then you start to see why the ancients would do things like create ceremonial tools out of meteoric iron.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, the other idea there, I guess, is that, you have realms that are separated by, the waters, and that we're just one island here in this, encapsulated water system. And then there's others here that maybe there's some way that they transfer over and come through. I mean, yeah, who knows? Who knows? But
I'm
yeah,
glad you
so
got to
anyway,
have that experience, man. I don't get a lot of full blast Milky Way action where I'm at.
yeah, dude, it was really cool. And just being out there, in nature, really out there, right? By yourself with just your own wits. And I have like a Garmin in reach too, if any, just in case anything really goes south. So it's like a satellite GPS thing with messaging. But I was out there with my dog and I, bear scat everywhere. Didn't get to see a bear. I was hoping to. And no mountain lions or anything. But yeah, a lot of crazy wildlife and just there's something special about it, man. You just really get in touch with yourself, and is just super spiritual. So I'm getting more and more into that and want to do it more and more. And my kids are getting into it too. So I want to get more remote, and we're talking about doing a trip to Alaska and doing some fun stuff. So, but yeah, music and sky, once again, the sky part of the event is we try to get out there in places where you do get some of that nighttime experience with the stars, because the daytime's really important. We jam pack the day with a lot of really cool stuff, from ice baths and yoga, and we do kundalini yoga and great talks and all that. And actually, the event is now kind of um, it's definitely grown up a little bit more to be more experiential and more immersive and integrative. It's less like sitting and listening to someone talk. It's definitely more, you're going to love it, Chance, because it's definitely more like programmed to be an experience, almost like going to Disneyland or something, where you're going to be walking around and going into these experiences, and less sitting in an audience and having a talking head tell you stuff. So that's something we've been really focusing on, is making this more about integration now.
I'm going to be wandering around with this. I'm just going to be like, what's up? Anybody need some tuning?
Dude, that thing is legit, bro. That's your like Thor hammer. Jesus.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Wow.
It's all engraved and stuff. I
What
guess
do
I
you
better
even strike that on. You need a big old
You need a
puck.
Thor hammer to strike it. Look, this is the striker.
Oh, no way.
I'm glad I'm playing a tuning fork, because I wanted to tell everybody about the new Alfa Vedic episode with Eileen Day McCusick, one of my personal greatest heroes in the world. It was such a good episode.
Thanks, bro. Yeah, thanks for really motivating and inspiring us to have her on, because she was definitely somebody who was mentioned a lot in our chats during AlphaCast. Whenever Bear would talk about tuning forks, so you need to have Eileen McCusick on. So it was definitely she was on our radar, and she's in some other groups of ours and stuff that were, and I actually going to get you in that one group. Gotta remind me, but she's an explorer too. Like explores. She's, what's great about someone like Eileen is she never rests on her laurels. Like, she's a true, what really the scientific method should be about. And it's like constantly searching, constantly trying to see what this reality is and what the truth is, because she's all about that. She's the real deal for sure. And we're really stoked that she's going to be at Music and Sky. So it's going to be badass, dude.
Yeah, that was a big draw to me, because I definitely want to meet Eileen, and you, of course, buddy, and all the others that are going to be there. So
she's going to do something really cool too. If we want to dip into the speakers, and check out the site again, she's going to, speaking of being more experiential, she's going, and we're still kind of just dripping people onto this site. There's still a lot more people to add, of course, and a lot more acts and stuff. But she's going to do a really cool live integration of tuning with people's vocal cords and the tuning fork. So she's going to have us, I guess, singing or chanting, and then tuning in with tuning forks, and something I guess she's never really done before. So it's going to be very interesting. So it's going to be super interactive, which is going to be a lot of fun.
I love that. It actually helps a lot during sessions sometimes to have the client vocalize with me and match the tone, or like some clients even, dude, I had the craziest experience. But okay, I just got to interject with this because I haven't really told the people about this either. But I had a client not long ago who I had never had a client before where their whole left side of their energy field was switched off. They were operating fully right side, which is the masculine side. And they were like hyper masculine. Like, he was jacked. He was super active, like really go-getter entrepreneur type dude. But whole left side of the body was energetically shut off. And I hit this point in the field at a certain age, and I was like, wow, before the stage, there's this really oppressive, kind of like scary feeling. And then at another point, the tone totally shifts and it feels like more normal and happy. And I threw out the age to him, and he's like, yeah, that was the age that I immigrated to United States. And before that, I was raised in a communist country. And I was like, how
Wow.
wild is that? Communism is, that's the extreme left, and the left side of his energy field was traumatized by all
Wild.
that. It was so weird. So it's
Yeah,
like
I had
you have
the I
these terms right and left for the political spectrum, and yet there's like this bizarre energetic truth to that.
Isn't that interesting? How the kind of fractal nature of reality and how it interplays with our physiology in ways that we are still just trying to figure out, right?
And it
It's
makes sense because the left, on the political spectrum is more about like, do everything for me, take care of me. The state is my mommy,
Mhm,
and the left side is the mother side,
mhm.
and the right side of the political spectrum is more like, we just want strong protection, but otherwise leave us alone. Let
Yeah.
us do our own thing. So makes sense.
That's cool, man. Yeah, my remote digital over Zoom session with Eileen, I gotta admit, I mean, I get the physics, I get the science and the idea of what's going on, but I was still very skeptical coming into it that it was going to be the same as being in the room, right? Where the room makes a lot of sense to me because it's like you're literally in the etheric space where you're sharing, where the toning is coming through your field, and that just makes a lot of sense to me. But like across through a digital medium and someone who's a technologist who works in this space, this was pretty damn cool. Like it
So
just
I'll just interject that it actually isn't going through the medium of the call. It's not going through the digital medium.
Oh, no, I know, I
You know what
get
I
that.
mean?
I get that. I was
Yeah.
saying, no, in the room, when you're in the room, it's like very easy for you to understand, like, right, you're right there with them. So it's just more apparent that you're in the soup of the timeless, you're in the soup of the ether. But what's great about it is the ether is timeless. It transcends time and space, right? It's what the current scientists want to call quantum, right? Quantum, but it's not quantum. It's not magical BBs, it's the ether, but it transcends time and space. So it doesn't all the Zoom or whatever the interface is doing is just giving us a reference, right? So we can have an auditory response mechanism going on. You could do it over the phone, right? But
I've done it when people weren't even on the phone with me. We picked a time and they received it too. So yeah,
you
it's
Edgar
it's
Casey'd
awesome.
that
Like
you
it
Edgar Casey'd that shit.
seriously though, you can prove to yourself the existence, and primacy of ether through modalities like remote tuning fork sessions. It's amazing. I kind of want to hear more. You don't have to get personal about it, but tell me more about how it was to work with the master herself. That is so cool.
um, it was like amazing because it was the first toning and she went to my feet, she like hit me with like an insane awareness in terms of something I've hidden in my life in a way, like not hidden, but just kind of it was very early trauma that I had from when I was born, and then early trauma and some weird stuff that came later as a kid, but actual physical trauma too I had as I and I kind of forgot about this. But when I was 2 years old, I was jumping on a bed, maybe two and a half, and I fell off and rolled down the stairs and broke my collarbone. I don't consciously remember this, but she said immediately, she's like, I feel you tumbling, like you're tumbling, tumbling, tumbling. And I was like, oh, she's like, yeah, and your whole everything's spinning. And it had this continual motif of spinning and tumbling. And I've actually had 3 or 4 incidents in my life where I've had tumbles, where I've had concussions. And she's like, this is not normal, Mike. Like, this isn't normal trauma that people go through, just so you know, because I was in a bad car accident where I flew to the back of the van and was knocked unconscious and had to get a CAT scan and then some football injuries and stuff. So, anyways, it was really interesting because she was I was getting sort of nauseous, and she was too. She was sharing in. It was like an empathetic. Is that the word? She's like an empath in that she was feeling what I was feeling, and she was even burping from the sort of nausea kind of thing that we were going through. And then she was able to stop, or I was able to. I was really the one doing it, I think. The way it works, Chance, and you could probably explain this better than I with how the biofeedback works or whatever. But I was able to kind of to come to awareness of that and in that cycle. And I think that's where a lot of my migraines had been coming from for years. And so we were able to tackle a lot. And that was like pretty quick. Like her first toning, she got all this information. It was wild. And then, yeah, we went deep. I got emotional. I cried, all that good stuff. So yeah, it was, she's actually going to have me write a testimonial. So I'm going to, use some of this. I'm gonna have to rewatch this and write some of this down. But yeah, she's
Wow.
amazing.
The empath part of it is definitely how it works sometimes, but what's kind of cool is there's a bunch of different ways it can work. So for me, like, I don't get hung up on it. The information needs to come through one way or the other. And I'm sure Eileen would agree with this. And like for different people, I always just set the intention that exactly the way it needs to happen is the way it's going to happen. And I just sort of go with the flow. I'm almost just like doing things with an awareness of the biofield anatomy and in communication with them. But that whole tumbling thing, that sounds pretty intense. And for me, for sure, I've had experiences before, like working in someone's throat chakra area and getting like acid reflux feeling come up, and them dealing with unexpressed anger issues or all of that. And it's very shamanic in that sense, because that is from all I've learned about shamanic practices, really what it is. And this is something that links into things like Qigong as well. You develop a sensitivity to your own energy and recognize the inner world, outer world reflection. And then when you see or encounter, or it comes to you and ask for help, energy that is not in flow for some reason in the external, then you find the correlating internal blockage or feeling and you work with it internally, and then you watch it change externally. I feel like that awareness that is the effect we have on the world, and way more effective than ever trying to like smash a square block into a round hole, is to instead find what isn't flowing for you internally and work with that. And that's why I will always continue to talk to energy practice people that are legit and Qigong masters and things like that, because these are the tools that can teach us to do it for ourselves. And I love that you got to have that experience with Eileen, man.
Oh, dude, it was cool. I was thinking too, because
and
I've
maybe
always
not
done,
another tumble for the rest of your life. Maybe no more bad
well,
tumbling head
so,
injuries.
so that's what I was just going to bring up, this idea of accidents, right? Because of course we're taught that accidents are, when I say we're taught, like traditional legacy, systems or whatever, the mainstream tells us that we live in a cause and effect, random chaos world, right? Where everything is just chaos, and there's no rhyme or reason to what an accident happens. It's just a series of events that are just random. But Rudolf Steiner, like, is great. The mystic from I'm sure your audience knows who Rudolf Steiner is. He explains how accidents are actually deeply spiritual, to do with, what you've already set yourself up for. There's no such thing as an accident. Everything it has to do with your intentions and your connection to your higher self and all this stuff that's going on. And it's actually lessons you can deliver to yourself from your higher self. And so there is no accident. So yeah, you're right. Like, I think a lot of this tumbling probably and these accidents I had growing up had to do with my inability to sort of flesh out some of this early trauma I had. And so it was like,
And that's not even your fault, because some of that stuff was so far back you can't even consciously remember it. And that's why it's so cool that we can help each other like this.
Exactly.
And I want to throw in, I say this all the time, but before Qigong, I used to stub my toe all the time, horrible pain. After Qigong, basically never do that. So it's like a body awareness thing.
So I walk barefoot. I'm kind of known as the barefoot guy. So I live
too, man.
I live barefoot.
Explicitly bare feet.
Yeah. So I go into like stores barefoot. I don't care what the policy is. I walk on like crazy rocks around the river barefoot. I do all my work around the yard barefoot. My whole theory is like,
I go on snow walks barefoot.
I love all that stuff. And we did a really cool show, and this will actually be a cool segue into one of our other speakers at the event. But we did and actually I want to connect you with Gabriel, because I know you're familiar with the Ringing Cedars books, which I have a bunch right here. So they were nice enough to send me all of the Anastasia Ringing Cedars books. Thank you. Just got them yesterday. Thanks, Gabe. I had a few of them, but very awesome. So I'm sure some of your audience are familiar with the Russian mystic in the in the tundra there, Tigra. Anastasia, she's kind of like a modern master, ascended master kind of person. And she explains very well, like how in nature, especially, like once you're in flow with nature, nature has there's like a biofeedback or a feedback with nature herself, and you're not going to be stepping on thorns or having insects bite you and all this stuff. It's literally like in that etheric sort of communication going on where the nature works with you. And I do definitely get that sense when I'm out working in the food forest here or in my garden, and I'm always barefoot and doing kind of heavy work barefoot. And my dad will be like, what are you doing? Aren't you worried you're gonna, step on a thorn or something? And I'm like, I'm in the flow, Dad. I'm good.
Yeah, and
But
every couple of months or something, when I do step on a thorn or something, I always immediately notice where my attention was and how it wasn't in the present moment. And it's like a red flag. It goes, hey, the thing that you were just lost in thought about, or maybe I was like on the phone while walking or something like that. It's always a red flag, like, hey, come back to now.
Yep.
And I think we get those all the time. And the harder those messages are hitting us, that means we're ignoring them more. And so they kind of come in stronger and stronger waves, like stub your toe, wreck your car, house on fire. Are you paying attention?
And so how symbolic is it of the disconnect in our realm right now, where most people are wearing rubber shoes, where they're literally insulating themselves from connectivity, right? Because rubber is an insulator, right? Or whatever. So they're literally stopping the connection on that front, and in a really bad way. Like,
and how funny is it that the Egyptian god that separates the earth from the sky and keeps them from copulating and creates sort of the yin yang division of polarity for the material world to manifest is named Shu.
Wow.
I always trip on that.
That's a good connection there. Yeah. So, anyways, the barefoot stuff. I love being barefoot, and you'll see me barefoot at Music and Sky. Even when we were in, it's funny, when we were at Joshua Tree and it was like 100-degree desert sand, I was still barefoot because I take pride in my thick calluses, bro. But on the lineup, we do have Gabriel Miguel coming out. He's the founder of the Anastasia Foundation in the United States here. And so he's coming out to talk and represent Ringing Cedars and the Anastasia community, and a lot of their community will be coming out, and it'll be great. I think they'll have a information booth there because we're really big on the Kins domain concept, and this idea of your family having a 2.5-acre parcel where it's your generational inheritance, where you essentially have like a permaculture plot of land that is yours, that you bury your elders in, and their tree springs up, and it's like your generational sort of place on the planet or in the realm. And so anyways, that's going to be really fun to have him do his talk, because I've very much been enraptured by the Anastasia books. I'd known about them. Bear had told me about them for years, and I didn't start reading them until this year. And I was like, wow, really crazy.
I've done the first one. It's really good. I did it as an audiobook though. We got a caller. Caller. Hey.
Oh, Gordy.
What's up, my man?
Hey, Mike. Good to meet you, man.
Hey, brother.
How are you?
Good, man. I think we were once on a Vibe Rant, like back at a while ago.
We might have. Yeah.
It's all good.
I bet you're
all good. You're on a lot of live streams, dude. You can't remember everything.
And they go like 6-7 hours long.
I don't know how you guys do that weaving spiders thing, man. Like,
I can't.
Dude,
3 is my limit.
I'm a health freak, so like being up on front of a screen for 6 hours is kind of toxic. But dude, so did you grow up a punk rocker?
Yeah. There were a couple clubs in Tucson that were so in 1988 I saw Bad Brains at the DPC in Tucson on Stone Avenue. It was the diviest place, so gnarly. Nice. But that show changed my life, man.
It's only the Bad Brains should be playing in, just the diviest spot with vomit everywhere.
talking about spiritual stuff and punk rock at the same time. Like, come on, that's
Well,
the shit, man.
I mean, does it get more spiritual than the original ethos of punk, which is all about individuality and finding yourself through, you know, and it's about community and stuff too, but it's about like, you know, being as true to your core beliefs as you want. There's like, that's what I loved about punk when I was in high school, because it was this like I grew up in Orange County where it was like, you know, every corner was a 7-Eleven and Disneyland and all that. It was just so corporate. And it was like this punk ethos was like against all of that. And it is pretty spiritual, you know, when you really look at it. I grew up in like, you know, for me, it was like Bad Religion and No Effects and those kind of bands. But I also love like Minor Threat and a big fan of like Descendants and Dead Kennedys and you know, so yeah, CD 90s for me, CDs, just like that's all I did was buy punk rock CDs. Yeah, and had some vinyl too. But that's great, man. The
first subject I came on to any other live stream other than Rogue Ways was when I went on Spiders. The first night we were talking about how all of the punks pushed out on everything. And there was that punk rock was completely dead because of coronavirus.
Yeah.
And all of them, including the Descendants, were pushing the mask and vax bullshit. And especially Bad Religion, man. That was.
But if you actually listen to a lot of their lyrics now, like No Effects and stuff, they're like straight up communist, leftist, you know,
and Mike has lost it.
Oh, dude. Lost it. That whole scene, man. It's so hard. I go back and I was listening to Punk and Drublick recently, and I was like, oh, as a kid, I didn't really listen to these lyrics too well because it's kind of woke, you know? It's like, whoa.
I didn't even know who Fat Mike was. I've heard the name No Effects before, but I just I just have to show this.
Yeah, I used to
Google image search.
There you go.
Yeah.
All the way. This is called Going All the Way.
Dude, it's such a shame. I know there's got to be a couple. I know there's a couple. Henry Rollins, right? Wasn't Henry Rollins? He kind of stood up and stood true to his, you know, his intentions. You know, like truth. I've heard Jello Biafra was a total plant, and you know, and I saw him perform at UCSB, which was amazing because I was a huge Dead Kennedys fan in high school. But when you actually listen to those lyrics, they're a straight up leftist, socialist. Most punk bands were like sold on that idealism. So that totally makes sense that they would fall for scientism, you know. But yeah, it's a shame, man. I know there's a huge, if the kids listening out there, there's a huge opportunity for you to be an awake punk rock band and start the new wave of the new punk. Because all the new punk stuff, I'd listen to the punk station on Sirius XM every now and then. I forgot what it's called. It's like one of the higher channels because they got some good stuff on there sometimes, but all the new stuff is just terrible, man. But yeah, I was a big ska kid too. So growing up in Orange County, like this third wave ska scene was really big. So my friends were in bands like Real Big Fish and Aquabats, and we'd hang out. Occasionally we'd see Gwen Stefani.
Aquabats, isn't that where Travis Barker came from?
So Travis,
183.
I listen to Blink 183 all the time.
182. But
no, I'm just kidding.
Well, they used to be just Blink. I saw them play at a garage house party in San Diego. But yeah, and I saw Weezer play when nobody knew what Weezer was in a strip mall in Huntington Beach.
Yeah, the Blink guys, they're so garage and so authentic punk that their parents, you know, Mark and Tom, their parents are in the defense industry and the oil industry, like huge. It's basically military industrial complex.
Well, look what happened to Tom. Tom is now like he's like the spokesman for the whole you know, basically CIA run op for the UFO thing. They don't even call them UFOs. They call them UA. What do they call them?
UAPs. Unidentified aerial phenomenon.
And it's the Stars Academy. What's it called? Like the Stars Academy?
To
or
the
something?
Stars Academy.
To the
Donate
Stars
to us
Academy.
and then forget that we exist because we'll stop our PR and we'll just hang on to this money.
Yeah, dude. So interesting though, how a lot of that is just the same old stuff. All that pop punk and everything, it was just co-opted and commercialized and used to control the kiddos. So, but I was gonna say, like, all the great music, all these scenes they all stem from an original underground ethos, right? Like of a real authentic art and creation. Like punk that came out of the 60s, with bands like well, I mean, even like the Kinks and stuff, which were co-opted later, but they were like punk rock, and of course you had, of course, like, the Ramones and the Sex Pistols and those kind of acts. And the Sex Pistols were Johnny Rotten was very vocal about how they were trying to co-opt them, EMI coming in and control them. And so they're always all of this stuff always, I believe, comes out of a true natural intentionality for us, for the human nature to be creative and be connected to the divine. And then the good old folks that aren't connected because they have lost their connection to source, they don't know how to create, they come in and co-opt it, control it, and use it for nefarious. That's what Satan is. That's what the devil is. The devil is not a creator. The devil doesn't know how to create. The devil just knows how to trick people into creating stuff for him, that for his will.
Vultures of culture.
Yeah, vultures of culture.
That's why it's a big thing that you guys are getting together. You're actually doing the thing that made us all fall in love with punk rock in the first place, is going to that dirty, nasty club, risking, disease or injury, moshing in those pits because you did it together.
Exactly.
Like, the point is you were always doing stuff together. And you guys are really focusing on the sound. The sound is the thing, man.
The only dirty part just is like, normal, healthy sweat and actual dirt.
Which is actually healthy for you. Yeah, exactly. The thing that we've been trained that we're not supposed to do is what we need.
Yeah.
Yeah,
there's something about I felt always great after a show thrashing in the pit. You get this like energetic spirit, where you're just swapping sweat and all that. And that's like, that's what we're meant to be doing. That's how our, quote unquote, if you even believe in immune system, that's how it works. The more that we connect with more different bodies, the stronger we get. That's how the network works. That's literally, we live in a network, and they of course understand that. So 6 feet apart, lockdown, separation, go into the metaverse, like that's all to essentially weaken us. We get stronger when we come together. So
these things are called viruses and pathogens are communication vectors. And exactly to like link this into the whole biofield anatomy and the experience you had with Eileen, what is going on is that parts of yourself that were not connected because of the schisming and fracturing of trauma, metaphorically, were reconnected. And the real health is when as many nodes in the network are connected to as many other nodes as possible. That's the simplest way of explaining what holistic even means, or to be whole, healthy and whole. And I actually just interviewed a guy. The episode will be dropping tomorrow. Let me pop up the cover art. You may or may not know this guy, Matt Powers, the permaculturestudent.com is his website.
I know who Matt is. I don't know him personally, but I know who Matt Powers is. Yeah.
Yeah. So Matt Powers, Mike Winter, maybe you guys should talk.
Cool.
It's going to be tomorrow. And this dude's got some amazing enthusiasm for life, and really excited to drop that episode because he's not really a part of the quote unquote truth community stuff, but he's doing this citizen scientist thing, researching on his own and coming to the same conclusions of 98% of E. coli is totally benign and is part of it's always in our digestive tract. Yeah. And so it's really cool to see that knowledge unfolding in more and more people, that the only reason nature would ever create something pathogenic or a disease of any kind that could be given to human beings would be as a way to hey, you're not a part of the environment that we can tolerate anymore, so we're going to compost you. And that's really not even that's not even really nature's intent or the idea behind it. It's just more like, if there is not a filtration system for toxicity in the environment, we become the filtration system because, you know, everything kind of flows through us at our point in the environment that we sit in.
Yeah. Yeah. As Dr. Barre Lando says, nature does not create pathogens. It's not in tune with natural law and how nature works. What we think are pathogens is when we have dying tissue, it's coming up to clean up the job and actually help us. Like nature is always trying to help us. So, you know, but then of course we attack them as the bad guy, the bacteria or whatnot, but they're just trying to do the beneficial job to keep the system clean and to keep the system running, you know, correctly. And then if you get into the spiritual side, like we inherited this realm, like we are the masters of this realm. So if we're not doing our job accordingly, then yeah, I think out of here, you know, you get what you deserve, because obviously we haven't been doing the job. We haven't been taking responsibility for us being the divine creators of the realm. And that's why I love permaculture, because permaculture understands that actually there is a symbiotic relationship between consciousness and nature, and how we can, as the divine creators in the realm, can actually play actually help nature and do things that nature can't do by herself. So it's pretty cool. It's about human design is what permaculture is about. It's about using our own faculties and our creative abilities to actually make systems that are more, benevolent and more efficient. And then even what you see in a forest. So like I have a food forest out here, which mimics a forest with the 7 layers of forest, you know, from the roots up to the top canopy trees and everything in between. But I designed it to be edible. So you go into the conifer forest right across the street, and it's just abundant with moss and all these different species and all these creepy crawlies and all this beautiful, bacteria undergrowth and the mycelium network and everything. And you go in there and you feel alive. You go into mine, it's a similar idea, except I'm picking fruit off all the trees. I'm picking berries. I'm serving myself. So I've like designed it in a way to not only service myself, but also to, bring the Garden of Eden back. Right. So permaculture is amazing. I look forward to watching that one, Chance, because that's a huge passion of mine.
Yeah, on the subject, what's going on with Alfa Vedic? Anything new, exciting being released or being cooked up in Barre's laboratory?
Constantly. Well, and on the permaculture side too, real quick, because I think you've interviewed him. I was talking to Jim, my buddy Jim Gale today. And
I love that guy. He's super sundog.
Yeah. So looks like he's going to come out to Music and Sky and talk. And yeah. So, we're talking about it briefly today and just got to flesh out the particulars, but he's super fun. I've hung out with Jim in person on a couple different events that we've spoken at together. And he is definitely has that energy, Jim is always bringing it. So, so he'll bring, he's doing some really cool projects right now too.
You notice there's a trend with these permaculture guys, just to interrupt, is that they have an unstoppable enthusiasm. If that actually Powers pointed out to me, and I'm like, I can't believe I didn't notice this, because enthusiasm is my jam. It's like my favorite hexagram in the I Ching and everything. And it's in Theos. It's like whenever you're enthusiastic about life, the creator and the spirit of life itself is stoked on you as much as you are stoked on life. And it's this positive feedback loop.
Well, that's definitely me. I'm
buddy.
the never-ending energy guy. Dude, the first Music in Sky, I didn't sleep for 3 days. Like I was just on like a natural high of throwing this event and taking the risk to do it. And obviously, I was like parking cars till 1 a.m. one night. And I mean, it was crazy, but dude, gotta love life. If you're not out here just crushing life every day, you got to really start to think about why you're here. But in terms of Alfa Vedic, we got an amazing community that's really erupted in the last 2 years. We're starting to do workshops on the land. So we have a private community that we're launching our our new platform. We're getting off Patreon. It's going to be on alfavedic.com. We're doing it all with the open source architecture. It will eventually be on Cordal as well. But for our members, we're starting to do in-person workshops on the farm, and we're doing a really cool first one called "I Am the Law" with Ron Gibson and Marcia Ann. And it's going to be recorded, and that will be our first sort of recorded workshop on the land that will be available to all of our members. And it's basically a breakdown of understanding who you are as the law, as the divine source of your own law, and breaking down everything from the very basic philosophy of that all the way to understanding how you can get a land patent and take control of your property if you want to, and how that would work into doing trusts and all this stuff to protect yourself and be in the private, to move from the public, maritime corporate BS into the private, so that you can exist as a living man or woman appropriately and properly, and to be able to pass this down to your, the little. You got to be careful when you're with your words when you start talking like this, because you can't say kids. Kids are baby goats. Really, your property in a way, but your children. That
I always just throw out there, like, you know what? Yes, it's good to know what the legalese is, but the legalese is a dead language. It is copyrighted. It's just like an imitation of the living language. It's a trickery, if you will. And the living language, we mean what we mean, and intention matters. It's funny because even maritime,
if you're conscious about it,
if you're conscious about it, absolutely. But maritime, even that word, funny enough, on the etymology level, it is linked to the word for death. Maritime. It's not very far from mort time. And there's a whole philological link that people can check out, really well detailed in Dylan's fourth book, A God's Acre for Winds of the Soul. But it's perfect because the whole system is based on corporations, corpse oration, death speak, and it's maritime, mort time law.
Yeah, it's definitely a death cult. And like pair rents, right? You're literally renting your kids, which your baby goats, but you're renting your children to the state. A parent. Well, you're a father, or you're a mother. But when you don't, I know, I get it. It's a lot of just words are words, right? It's the intention behind the words, and that's what we get into. Is it's
good to get into the gravy on it, though, for sure.
It is, but the workshop is what Marcia Ann's a brilliant at, and most people have never even heard of her because she's been literally in the private, working and helping people that are, I guess, a lot of times deemed elites, but to do their trusts and everything. So she knows it very well, and it's all about the War Powers Act and a lot of really interesting, actually, information that people don't know, even like people you've had on your show, really high level people that talk about legal versus lawful and all this. She really brings a next level of understanding to it. She did talk on the Liberties Horizon event, if you guys want to check that out, which I spoke at in San Diego a few months back, which was a privacy symposium, which was next level. But that being said, yeah, it's all about your intention and your function over form, and understanding who you are in the deep soul connection of who you are, more than the paperwork. And we always stress that. So anyways, we're doing that amazing workshop this in August. Bear's lab's almost done. So he's going to, we're doing a mushroom workshop actually in September. If you guys are interested, you can join. You'll be able to join us at alfavedic.com, and we're going to basically show you how to inoculate and start your own mushroom farm. Inoculate, we'll do stumps, and then also we'll do some foraging, because by that time, if we get some decent rains, we'll actually be able to go into the coniferous forest there and find some turkey tail and reishi. And something I've been getting into the last few years is doing, I don't know if you guys do any mushroom hunting, but that's a lot of fun. And then so the farm's just doing great. We've got a lot of people that are actually moving here and finding land and forming this community. So it's just been so fun, man. Every weekend I'm having people visit, and just because we're pretty remote. So when people visit, it's fun because they get to see where we live and hit the river and hit the trails and all that. So couldn't be happier, bro. Like, so glad I left LA in 2016.
Mike, you said oh God, that interview with Eileen.
Yeah.
You guys were talking about the stuff you were going to do there. Did she say that Victor Wooten is going to be there? That she's going to do a clinic with Victor Wooten?
I think she's talking
What
about her
was that?
Sing the Body Electric
Yes.
Oh,
event that she's putting on. But yeah, Victor Wooten and Eileen are apparently friends, so
Yep.
it doesn't surprise me.
I think that's the one that they're doing. I might be wrong, but I think that's the one they're doing in Monterey in December. And you can sign up for that, I'm pretty sure. But yeah, that was pretty interesting.
And Earth and Sky is where? Where and when is it going to be?
So Music and Sky is October 13th through the 16th. It's in Cuyama Valley. It's in California. Sorry, guys, but for those who are triggered by the idea of coming to California, it's going to be okay. It's not that crazy coming here. Like, believe it or not, it's like anywhere else. If you go to the woke centers, you're going to have wokeness. You're going to have idiots and masks and all that. But if you just hang out with us and what we do, like, where I live, I never have had to deal with that since the whole shenanigans even started. But anyways, it's in California, and because we're California based and we've stayed in California because we know California is one of the prime nodes on the planet for sort of the spiritual sort of awakening that's happening. And that's why they've targeted it for decades. And that's why there's the 4 families that have run California since the 20s. Basically, you have obviously Mount Shasta, which is one of the chakra points on the planet. You've got the Sierras. You've got obviously all the rivers and all the majesty in California. There's a lot of crystal here and stuff. So there's it's a very magical place. In fact, I think the word California came from a magical story out of a Spanish mystical or mythical fantasy novel or fantasy book. I looked into this years ago. So it's a magical place that obviously a lot of people came to. They risked life and limb to come here, right? If you buy into the traditional history, and for a reason. And a lot of interesting people have stayed here. And that's why they have Hollyweird here, because they knew they had to corrupt it. And so we've stayed here, and we will hold the light in California. And so it's in California, and it's usually in a different venue every time. It's usually off grid in a beautiful outdoor location. It is a camping gathering. This one is pretty cool because our partner on the venue space has really done an amazing job. And normally during the whole lockdown times, we wouldn't even say where it was. You'd find out the week of where you were going, because we had to do that literally to protect our community and ourselves, because we weren't doing the protocols and stuff. But now we can be a little bit more kind of open about it. So it's at this place called Cielo in Cuyama Valley. They do a lot of events there. It's a gorgeous location. It has a heated pool, and it's like a desert scape with some of the stage area has this like beautiful sand. You can just dance in this like really light sand, and it's got beautiful shade structures, wonderful bathrooms, very comfortable, warm showers. And then the ticket includes all of this. It also includes farm to table food. So we do family dinner. Everybody eats together. So imagine that, going to a fest where everybody comes together and eats together at the time. And so it's about, we typically cap out about 500 campers. It's fully family friendly. We have a family stage. So we've got a network of what we call the Luminary Village, which of unschooling families. There's actually, thanks to Dr. Edith Ubuntu Chan, who's one of our featured speakers. She's been to every single Music and Sky, except she wasn't at the memorial event. She's amazing. If you guys don't know her, she's been on Alpha Cast and a lot of shows. She has a crazy story about how her first child came to her in a dark room retreat in Thailand when she wasn't planning to have children. And she was doing a 5 or 7 day dark room retreat at oh God, what's his name's place out there in Thailand? He's pretty famous, but anyways, and she had basically her son came to her and told him, you're gonna give birth to me, and I'm the new generation of star children that are coming, that have never incarnated on this realm yet, to bring in the new kind of ascension, or the new whatever of the sort of like the new type of human. And so she talks about this. She talks about this in with her unschooling programs, and like she does like stuff where she blindfolds her children, the kids in the class, and they know how to read with the blindfold on and do art and all this stuff. So it's like next level cool stuff. So we have a whole a luminary village of just children running around, and they have a stage where they could do karaoke and talent show and all this kind of cool stuff. So that's really, really important for us. And we've been developing that more and more, and trying to make this more and more of a super, super family friendly event. And so the last Music in Sky on the 4th of July was great. By like day 3, I looked around and it turned into a village. It was turned into a village where there's just kids running around, naked babies, dogs. I don't know if we're going to have dogs in this one. I have to check on that. But we were totally cool with dogs on the last one. And
that's always my marker of a good event, is if there are kids and dogs running free, then you know that it's like pretty chill and safe.
Exactly.
And I love the size range too, because that's part of the issue with the bigger festivals and the corporatization and the money grabbing and the energy siphoning and all that, is when there's this effect of swarming. When humans have too many in one spot, there's this strange effect that occurs where all of a sudden you can write off somebody who's having a hard time right next to you. But when there's just a few hundred people around, the empathy is just more direct. And for whatever reason, people are more prone to actually express the empathy and watch out for each other in a more family tribe way in a smaller group. And I don't know what the magic number is, but I say this all the time, but like, I don't know, 5,000 people is fine. And then 5,001 people, 5 people die. It's like the statistics don't make sense. It's not like a linear curve of like fatalities and things like that. So the event size you're talking about is cool, because we're going to like all see every face there and have a good chance to talk to almost everybody, or share space energetically with everybody.
And we already have like hardcore community members, that have gone to all of them, that we do meetups. So I've done multiple meetups here already. I did an ecstatic dance off-grid mountain set last month, or the beginning of this month, where I had a bunch of Music in Sky people come all the way up here, and they camped, and we have satellite meetups already. And so we're actually going to be doing a workshop this go around, for people who want it. So we've been asked, like, when's Music in Sky going to be in back east or down south or the Midwest? And it's like, we don't have the ability to do that, but we're going to do a workshop training people who want to do their own Music in Sky, throw their own event. They're going to get certified as an official Music in Sky producer.
Oh, I'm in.
Yeah. And so then you're going to basically, with the new platform we're launching, so we're launching a new private platform, like basically what Alfa Vedic's doing. We're doing that for Music in Sky as well. It's going to be a value for value model. So what that means is you pay what you think the value you're getting out of the community. And so you can pay monthly or annually, whatever. And this is going to be a dope, forums and discussion groups and all that. But then that's where we're going to have all the events and stuff. And so then we will give the branding and everything and help with booking and all that. And we'll fly out to the event, of course, or at least one of us will. And our idea is to decentralize this. And we're going to put it in a PMA. We're going to put it in a trust. And so it's not going to be an LLC, or we might have a public facing LLC, but essentially we want to decentralize this and make this a movement where we don't have to do it all. And that someone like Chance can do this in Missouri or wherever the heck you are, where the bugs are the size of bats. And you basically,
I'm in Missouri, and there's a Owen Benjamin tribe Bertaria meetup, or actual festival happening on private land Labor Day here in Missouri, which is really exciting.
I know. I want to go. Topher's.
I'm going to be there.
I want to go meet Topher because he's, I think, talking, and I really want to meet that guy because I think.
Oh, cool! You know Topher now? Yeah, he's.
I don't know him. I just know him from. He's been on Crow, and people have been asking us to interview him, and I really want to get connected with him. If you know him,
Yeah. I literally know him in physical space.
Because he moved to the Ozarks from Costa
Yeah.
Rica, right? Yeah.
Yeah, he's awesome. He's starting. Maybe okay, I won't say that. He's got a lot of cool things cooking up, and we're going to be seeing and hearing a lot more of Topher and his excellent wisdom. And he totally would make an amazing Alfa Vedic conversation. Guarantee it.
Cool. But yeah, so Owen is a homie and chat every now and then. So I'm in the, I don't know, are you in the Beartaria app and stuff? Have you jumped in all in? Are you?
No, I can't even keep up with my own people.
I know, right? Same here.
But I'm glad it's there, and I'm gonna meet a lot of them in person.
Oh,
and,
cool. So you're gonna go.
Jason's gonna be there.
Awesome.
Jason and Rose from Jason Lindgren.
Yeah. Owen's he's a homie, and that would be awesome. That's gonna be too close to Music and Sky for me, and I'll be kind of in the trenches for our event. But it's so cool how there's like these very similar, type of communities sprouting up everywhere, and we all get to intermingle because there's a lot of bears that follow AlphaCast and involved with Alfa Vedic and all that. And
it's like what really I was talking about. The communication network of the organic network is all the nodes are linking to each other, and there's so many Mike Winners and Chance Gartons out there doing this, and when we find another one like each other, it's amazing because we both grow from it.
Yeah.
It's not competitive.
No, it's collaborative. That is the holistic model that we're moving towards. That's the talk I did on the first Music and Sky was this like holistic economy model idea, which part of that is collaboration, cooperation, decentralization. That is the very much the the Aquarian idea, right? That we're supposedly moving into, this air idea where it's not about competition and looking towards authority and this Piscean idea of like a leader and all that. Not saying that leadership isn't needed. I do believe in leadership. And that's why we're doing this workshop, because you can't just have an event done by just randomness, like show up, it's going to be cool. No, you have to have people that take charge and have some skin in the game and take responsibility. But there are definitely, I don't know what your guys' take on this whole Aquarian age stuff, but it does seem like we are moving into a newer time where these kind of ideas that are more air-based and more decentralized seems to be becoming more and more apparent. So, so that's the idea of Music and Sky. So come get we say certified just so people know how we do it, because we've been doing events. Like I've been doing events for 20 years. It's my greatest probably creative talent besides DJing is being able to throw a quality event. I'm a bit of a anal retentive person when it comes to events. So I want everything perfect, but, and then Matt and Owen, my partners, and Corey, have been in the game too. We're all in their 40s. So we've been doing this since we're teenagers. And, so it's just really fun, to see finally, what we wanted an event to be happening, like Music and Sky. So, that would be great to do one out in the Ozarks. That would be super cool. Yeah. So Virgo, I do know that about me, Jenny. So Virgo. So we have some, I was just on a podcast called The Source Connection with Liz and Tara. Check it out. I go deep into decentralization and Cordal. But they're interested in doing potentially Music and Sky in, back East. And, actually I think Liz moved from California, I want to say, to Missouri. Dude, everybody's moving to freaking Missouri, and
the Ozarks are totally the promised land. After all the rest of the world went at least partially crazy, around here it stayed. Almost nothing changed. People were saying you have to wear your face diaper and stuff, but I never did, and it was no hassle. In other places, I know people were like brave and they went without the covering anyway, and they got hassled and they couldn't go to certain places and they just lived that way. Here, people just didn't. I swear, only twice in the whole time I got anyone talk to me about not wearing it, and it was always like a civilian, not like an authority. So that being said, there's also all this crazy quartz veins beneath our feet, and we have a really great variety, like 12 different seasons. And if things grow well here, it's an awesome spot. It's
I want to
Even the
visit.
name, the Ozark, it's like the Oz Ark. Oz has a lot of interesting meanings, like the stars or even strength. And then the Ark is, there's a lot of meanings to Ark too. So this is some sort of cool vault for. It's like a vortex of. I consider there to be a vortex here based on the fact that there are so many different ecological styles of environment that all sort of like swirl and blend in this one area. Like you have a deciduous forest here, but then you have plains here, and then you have hills here, and then you have swamp here.
Marshlands.
We got all the things except I guess the ocean, but we got lakes and rivers and streams, and really, really cool.
See,
I'm gonna come visit.
I was gonna ask
you,
Mike,
do it.
How important do you feel like it is that you're actually doing this on the land? You're not in an auditorium. People aren't on concrete, and people aren't on artificial floors.
Gordy, this is why I love you, because you just
Huge, right?
This is a very important, very, very important thing. And we were talking about this a lot at Music and Sky we did a 4th of July one last year. That was our big the festival time. It was cool because it was like super. It was just a good time. 2021. It was still kind of that like the peak of the Corona nonsense and stuff. So we're all so we were in this really cool place, Blue Mountain. What was it called? It was up in like the Western Sierras. So it was like a mountainous place that had a creek going around the whole thing, and just in the middle of the forest. And there was like there was definitely a sacred sort of vibe coming out of the land where we could feel it. We could all feel like this vortex of sacred kind of Native American energy coming out. And there was also a lot of like, this is kind of weird, but it felt like there was this sort of Western sort of esoteric mysticism, kind of like a lot of talk about like the Essenes and stuff. From like, how does the Essenes connect with, California? And, it was interesting because a couple of the members that were there, a couple of our community members who were there, who were really tied into the Essenes, were mentioning that there was actually a deep connection between the Essenes and certain people that came way before the Native Americans to North America. And there's like an ancient history that we aren't told about. And that connects maybe back to Atlantis or Lemuria. I don't know. So the land's really, really important. And we try to do different areas. So we try to go desert forest. So we're back to the desert again, which has a really kind of interesting feeling to it. And so we're here to heal the land. And speaking of the land, we're not on the website yet, but Russell Anderson and Chris, he goes by Cosmic Sojourner, are going to be doing a really intimate roundtable talk, probably in the, I don't know what space we're going to do it in. We have some really cool spaces at this venue, but they want it to be very intimate about primary water. And I don't know if you guys are familiar with what primary water is. But we're talking about the transmutation of what water is and where it comes from, as it comes up from literally the bowels of Mother Gaia, and it's created. Water does not come from comets, right, that have hit the planet. It's literally the life. It's consciousness. Water is the consciousness of the realm. It is the crystallization of the ether, and so. Water, the primary water, is essentially directly related to the cycles of consciousness. And right now it's bubbling up. It's bubbling up like it hasn't in thousands of years. And it's going to come up no matter what, but the quality is going to basically be associated, the quality of the water is going to relate to how we essentially come to grips with not only who we are, but what has happened in the recent past. And a lot of this has to do with healing with the Native American tribes. And they're going to be talking about this kind of connection with consciousness, with the natives, with Clear Lake, which is the oldest body of lake in North America, which happens to be in Northern California. So another really interesting little gem to know about California. And most people don't even know, have never even heard of this. And so they're going to be going deep into some esoteric, really interesting stuff, some Walter Russell stuff. Here's what Chris had to say. You'll love Chris. You got to have Chris on. He is like an insane synchro-mystic. He goes deep. So
put me in touch.
I don't even know if you're going to understand this. Like, It might sound like nonsense. And I told Chris we're going to have to clean this up a little bit. Our message is centered in the heart as the crystal of water within an egg carton universe. The memory is key in bird words and the color of emotion recorded within the Akash, as the late Dr. Masaru Emoto has brought the world how words and emotion affect the matrix of light illusion, to remember the primitive spirit of the law over sovereignty, dominion over law of the land and sea within the breath of the compassionate. The Pomo tribe Elam band, the indigenous worldwide, is the primary message from the primary water, having their sovereignty taken by genocide. The entire planet is now experiencing because of this standing colonization. The locale is the largest and oldest lake in California. He's talking about Clear Lake. It's in Lake County, and it's Clear Lake along the Ring of Fire. They go deep into what the Ring of Fire. The Ring of Fire is really important. Johnny Cash saying, love is a burning thing, and it makes a fiery ring. The Ring of Fire as a sacred location within a sacred form with Hawaii, the heart chakra of Earth. The green stone returned through the primary water in cycles of epochs between the pentagonal and hexagonal forms of information as energy in motion of the color of emotion from the heart, or excuse me, the earth. So he says earth, like EART, and then like, I don't know what that little bracket thing is with the capital H. So basically earth, heart, earth, and then backwards heart, earth, heart, center of heart math and prime number, and the Mary, the Magdalene, as primary. So he relates Mary is very important to primary water. Anyways, this is how he talks. So it's going to be a really fun talk.
There is a lot of linguistic exploration you can do that demonstrates the savior gods, if you will, the solar deities, they also are named after water and flow, because water is life, the sun gives life, and these are like redeemer figures. So like just a couple examples off the top of my head. There are some places where Bacchus was called Nilus, and there are some places where the Nile River was called Christos. Just a couple of examples, but like it goes deep. I recommend people check into, as usual, Dylan Sakosio's work does an incredible job breaking all that stuff down. Really excited to deliver the audiobook of the fourth volume soon. When I get there, I'm about 25% of the, no, I'm like 35% of the way. We're getting there. It's really good.
Those books are on my list to read. I'm always reading like 5 or 6 books.
Get the audiobook I dropped of book 3.
I know,
man.
I bought it already. I got to put it on my
put it in your ears.
Things to listen. I know.
We want, like, that's part of that's why I'm supporting his mission myself so much, is because he gives keys that when you get these keys or this code, then all of us who are all doing our own thing in different places and seeing different things, the more of us have the keys or to the code, we all collaborate on the research, because no one person can explore every language and every culture and every ancient site and every ruin and all of that. We need as many people to get the keys of decipherment as possible. I think that's part of that connecting the network intelligence thing. So that's why I'm super into promoting Dylan's work, because it really has helped me in terms of keys. But I really like that whole thing, that whole thread on water.
Well,
very interesting.
And the cool thing about this workshop, or not a workshop, but this kind of, intentional kind of intimate talk that they're going to have, is that you can take what you want out of it. You can go deep and esoteric and spiritual, or you can understand that primary water means that there is no scarcity. There is no fear about us, only having, 2% of drinkable water on the planet, and that water is going to be this resource that the NWO or whatever is going to take over and buy out, and we're going to be slave to no, that's not how the realm works. Like, we have all that we'll ever need here if we just wake up to it. So that's the beautiful thing. And there are people that are drilling for primary water. And what we're going to kind of get into is you don't even need to do that. It's like the orgone idea. It's like when you have the intention, the understanding, and work with the land and heal with the land, the water will bubble up. It will come up through your well, and there's a quality to it. There's a consciousness to it. It's more like
just
plasma
like when
structure.
we bust some towers, it rains.
Yes, which I've had a lot of experience with this year. Have you too, Gordy?
Mm-hmm.
So I have a creek here, Stony Creek, which is spring fed, and I've been going into it for years. It's one of the clearest, most crystal clear, beautiful nature streams I've ever been in. And lately, and maybe it's just my own weird perception and having talked to these guys and understanding primary water, but I sit in it every day. I run to it, and I kind of get in this vortex pool and I meditate in it. And I've been noticing the water has been getting more like plasma-y, structure-y feeling. There's like more of a tension to it. And it's more like, I don't know, bro. It's trippy, man. So I was talking to them about that. And like, well, we just got off a call from our East Coast primary water tribal members from the Iroquois Nation or whatever. And they're saying that the water is coming up. So you're going to start experiencing that. So anyways, really exciting times. And I can't wait for that talk.
This has been an exciting talk, dude. You really are the limitless energy guy. Your enthusiasm and flow state, speaking of water, has not waned even a drop in this whole 2 hours. Totally badass.
Crushing life, bro. Like, you got to come visit, man. And I mean, I know you live in a really cool place too, but yeah, I think when you're surrounded by this many trees and this much nature, because where we live, the closest city, like city is 6 hours away. I don't know if there's many places in the United States where you can be in a place like this where you're surrounded by this much wilderness. It's not like we live in the country, like where you're surrounded by farms, and because with a lot of that, you're getting a lot of pesticides, you're getting a lot of human. We don't have a lot of humans here. I'm not saying I'm anti-human at all. I'm just saying that there's an energy vortex here that I think I feed off of. I mean, I've always been this way, but I think I get off even more here. So I hope you guys, and Gordy, I don't know where you are in the world, but it'd be amazing to have you at Music and Sky.
I am in Arizona, so my grounding is very careful. I don't do the free feet because everything's cactus here, but I do ground, but carefully.
Yeah, Arizona's not that far from Cali, man. Maybe you can come
it's
out.
really not.
Dude, Chance is going to be there. You got to come.
You're going to be here. You're going to be there.
I'm absolutely going to be there. Yeah.
He's on the website.
Okay.
Go back to the website.
Dude, see this?
Yeah, show the
Me
website.
and my dog are on the website. Just in case anyone didn't notice that. My dog is not coming, as far as I know. I don't think he doesn't have a job. He's probably not going to be able to buy a ticket, but he is there on the website.
The gal next to you, by the way, Sophie. I don't know.
Oh, yeah, I know Sophie. We friends. I'm sorry though. Tell people who she is though. She's awesome. Been on InnerVerse
so
before.
She's amazing. She got a PhD in basically understanding like how somatics and human design intertwine, and they're two totally different things. But she is a practitioner of the healing arts of somatics, and also has a very firm understanding of human design, which is a totally trippy subject matter all into itself. If you get into human design, it's really weird where it came from. It was kind of like channeled and downloaded by this dude, but it's a whole system that kind of fits in with the Enneagram a little bit and with cosmic astrology and like your birth time and everything. And
I need to have her back. It's been a couple of years.
Dude,
I got so much new gravy.
Oh, I didn't know she's been on your show. Crazy.
Yeah, her and Erasmus came on, I think early 2020.
No way. So they're totally homies. Erasmus hosted the Memorial Day Music and Sky that I couldn't make it at. The smaller one. So Erasmus will be on the site too. He's going to be doing some stuff there as well. They're good friends of mine, and I love them to death. They're so fun to hang out with. They'll be doing some body work and stuff, some somatic stuff, and then doing human design chart breakdowns, which is really interesting. Did you get your human design done? I don't know my moon star stuff, but I know it makes sense what I am. I'm a manifesting generator.
Dude, all of us are manifesting generators around here. It's just like, I am too. I'm never surprised when someone's like, I'm a manifesting generator, and we're, having one of these gravy chats. I'm like, yep, we out here manifesting, generating. Me too, man.
Awesome, brother. Yeah. So then, and Ayla Cuenca, she's going to be there. She's coming out from Miami, and she's like an amazing natural birthing doula, and has been on Alpha Cast. And I love her to death. So she's going to do an intimate kind of Q&A, kind of not a presentation, but a talk about empowering women to know how to just, you know, trust in their biology and their spirit, and to do natural free birthing and all that comes with that. The spiritual side of free birthing, and free birthing just basically means, and I have a couple here who actually moved up here in a little homestead, Alec, who was an artist at the Music and Sky last summer, who we met randomly through some friends. And now he lives up here with his wife and his beautiful 3-year-old, and his wife's pregnant, and she's doing a full free birth here, not even a doula or midwife. She's taken some courses, and she's just going to pop that baby out. And so it's really cool to see this sort of this information in a community like this, and the feedback and stuff. So Ayla's awesome, and she's coming with my friend Kelly Brogan, who is an amazing soul, who's just going to come to hang out. And that's the other thing about Music and Sky. It's cool. You're going to like, is just a lot of high powered, beautiful souls. They're just there, right? That aren't even speaking or on the list. So
no NPCs in the crowd. Everybody's high powered, fully realized version of themselves.
Yeah, man.
Not to call it back to the thing. Obviously, I don't believe in NPCs, but
and then
sometimes there's people that weren't here at the beginning.
We have some amazing music acts, of course, which we haven't officially announced yet. We're still working out, but really exciting about some of the music we're going to have there, because we always have some just breathtaking music acts. People are like, where do you find these guys? And they're all conscious, sovereign, awake people too. We don't book anybody that we're going to have to tiptoe around or worry about what their, nonsense is. Everybody's pretty much on the level, and everybody's integrated throughout the whole weekend. Everybody camps, everybody stays there. There's no VIPs. There's no like speaker camp or anything. Everybody is all on the same page. That's super important to us. So there's no ego. There's no like, I'm a special and I'm in like backstage. There's no backstage. So
that's exactly what I'm about. That whole thing I was trying to elaborate on with the whole pedestal of the main stage, and like they're the famous musical artist and they're the king. We're all friends here instead. I'm so excited about that part.
Yeah, when I played last event, I actually took because we did have an amazingly beautiful DJ booth that was all custom built by Corey, who's he actually did stage design or stage fabrication and stuff in Hollywood for years for Edward Scissorhands and Beetlejuice. What's his name? Director. Come on, Gordy.
Tim Burton.
So he's this guy. He's just an amazing artist. And if you go look on our site, you can kind of see some of the stage design that we had. Actually, we sold our stage to Burning Heart to Desert Hearts. But
I've heard good things about Desert Hearts, but never been to that one.
Desert Hearts used to be I don't want to talk whatever.
It's that's how it always is. Like it was cool for a while, and then the more it grows, the more the parasites creep in.
Darkness, yeah. But anyway, so I actually got down on I DJ'd on the dance floor last year, which was really fun. I put my decks and stuff on the dance floor. So I didn't want to be up on the like DJ booth stage. So I was down on the level with everybody dancing around me, and it's just so much more fun like that. So I'll probably do that again this year. It's a fun thing.
I'm gonna read a few off of the quotes, notes, and jokes page on the Music and Sky Festival. This is a fun page on here. What is half man, half beast, and spends its time trying to force humans to wear masks? The centaur for disease control. And this one was a good one. It's kind of like a wisdom, but also funny. You can only chase what is running from you. That's nice. Good. That is so good. Yeah, man. This has been super fun, Mike. Gordy, you guys have anything you want to talk about before we move towards a wrap up?
Yeah, I got another question.
We're kind of hitting that point.
Mike, you've been into the health and fitness stuff for I think a lot longer than I have. Like, what is your thing now? What is your like, how we kind of go in waves of finding like the best thing that's really cooking for us, like really working good, like what's that thing right now for you?
So I reread the Essene Gospel of Peace, and I don't know if you guys have ever read that text, and I've heard it's not legit. It is, it's but anyways, it's got some great gnosis in it, and it really and actually shout out to Eric Casano who brought me that book, and he does the holotropic breath work every year. He does a whole holotropic journey at Every Music in Sky, which if you guys have never done, it's like literally a psychedelic journey of just using your breath, where you go places. It's wild. So,
Oh, I've
anyways,
done that. That's cool.
yeah,
Like with dragon breathing and stuff like that.
Yeah,
Kind
really.
of stuff?
Yeah, where you're just doing that, and he leads you through it for like an hour, and you get like
dude.
the claws and, and
Yep.
everything. Cool.
Right
So we do
on.
that as a group, and we do that kind of early in the event because it's a good way to kind of get into the festival mode. It's like going through something like that, and not everybody does it. But so, anyways, Eric came and stayed at our house, and he brought me this. We were getting really into these scenes a lot at the last Music in Sky, and so I read it, and it really dawned on me that true health is here. It's in God, has given it everything we need here. We don't need any fancy nootropics or supplements or anything, right? It's the 4 elements. So every day you need to get the 4 elements. So I try to get up, and I get the sun on me as much as I can, early morning sun gazing if I can, or sunset gazing is great. You typically want to do it in the sunrise or sunset, not peak of the day. But I like to get a lot of sun in my body. Water, drink. I live on the purest river in America. Not saying you have to do that, but clean, structured, really good water. Super, super important. So I try to drink, a fair amount of that, and I try to get in the water every day. So right now in the summer, it's easy. I swim in the river every day. 3, land, grounding. Feet, bare feet on the ground, hands in the soil, constantly gardening, and then fire. This is the really trippy one. I try to limit LEDs as much as I can, incandescent lights, and try to limit my any kind of artificial lighting. So natural lighting is like a natural fire, right? So also the way I cook my food, I often try to cook it over barbecue or over fire, or literally I'm working on creating a solar oven, because in the Gospel of Peace, Jesus in that, or Yeshua, says that unleavened bread should only be cooked by the sun. And actually, when you cook something over a fire, that is not appropriate for how God's will was to cook food. He said the only way you should cook food is literally by the sun, which is kind of trippy. But the fire, the 4th element, is the hardest thing for modern man to engage with on the regular, because we're not around fires anymore. We don't have that interaction with the fire element like we used to, where we literally every night would have a fire, right? Like we'd be around a fire, warming ourselves, cooking our food, whatever. So those are the 4 elements that are what make us healthy and what make us thrive. So it's super minimal. I have gone extremely minimal, even though we sell all the dopest health products, and I do our 0 point mineral liquids for Alfa Vedic, and I do my limit tonic, and I do 1 meal a day. I'm a 1 meal a day guy. But that's kind of my thing right now, or is my thing, is the 4 elements, and try to have them in the purest, most natural, organic way that the Creator has given us in this Garden of Eden that is supposed to be this realm that we coexist on.
Nice, dude. So, okay, one more thing, if you don't mind. So, meditation practice. What is your focus? Like, how did you get into it, and like, which one kind of called to you, or is there a technique that you specifically use?
So, I am a very intuitive person. Whatever, every day is different for me in terms of the type of meditation, but I'm also anal in terms of my morning routine. So every morning I get up, I have my structured water, lemon tonic with the 0 points and a little bit of maple syrup. That's my breakfast. And then occasionally I'll also do sometimes coffee with coconut oil and chaga mushroom. But that's all I have. And then I go and I do my Qigong, yoga, Kundalini. I do like a whole hybrid of Qigong with Kundalini yoga, some yoga, and then I finish with meditation. And I usually just do a mindfulness meditation. So I just try to get as empty as possible. And then I do a gratitude journal after that. And that's a form of meditation too. I do some journaling. But I also am I love meditating, doing mindful sort of work. So in the garden, this is why I haven't listened to Chance's audiobook like I should have, because I've been trying to not listen to podcasts and stuff all the time when I'm doing things.
Yeah.
So this sort of Japanese concept, I forgot what it's called. Maybe you guys know, where you're like, get really good at one thing and you get super into it, and it's your focus, and it's like you're in the moment doing it. So that for me is my gardening. And not
I get it, man. I get it.
Yeah.
That makes I've been moving that way too, as part of why my content consumption versus output is so skewed now towards more just output, because I found myself not really being drawn to constantly have the voices in my head as much as when I did types of jobs that my heart wasn't in it. And now, like, my flow all day is exactly what I want to be most focused on, is where I'm actually at. So not that I don't listen to things ever anymore, but
it's a tough balance.
I'll say my morning routine too is super, it's a sacred time, man. Like, I'm on about a month streak of at least an hour of Qigong every morning. And it's having a huge effect to not, to like be super consistent instead of most of the time. It's really good.
Yeah. And the other thing I do try to do every now and then, this is going to trigger folks, but shout off to Eric Casano, is I do drink my own urine. So
okay, that wasn't going to be my next question. I'm glad you went there. Glad you got there on your own.
You told us about this on the InnerVerse episode in pretty good detail. That's right.
We talked about this before.
Shivambu. the greatest act of self-love. Drink your own urine. So that's a powerful tool. And even like, mainstream science shows why that is, with the stem cells and everything in your own urine. If you have any sort of issues with your skin topically, aged urine is just powerful stuff. So that's another really wonderful modality that you can look into for your own health. So everything's here: breath, your own urine, sun, water, air, the earth. Like, you got everything. Everybody's got everything, right? It's already here, unless you're in the metaverse. So
this is the whole sovereignty idea versus, natural law versus man's law kind of thing, that we're supposed to have that, like you're saying, that symbiosis. If we're living mindfully in every moment, and we're working with nature, and because have that mindset that we're constantly part of nature, as opposed to opposing nature, which is what most everything in society is telling us, that there is nature and then there is us. It's man versus nature, as opposed to, there's no version of us or them. We're all one. Yeah. Like, when we have the mindfulness that we are it, we're not exclusionary. We automatically, I think, when you're eating mindfully, your body craves the specific food that it needs. When you're working mindfully, your hands will do the things that somebody else needs. You'll find the weird ass rocks in the desert that people want, that are freaking me out, but it's happening because your mindfulness, you're out there. We're one with nature. Nature speaks back to us.
You're going to find the kidney rocks.
Right.
Yeah.
Whatever
the
that
heart
thing
rocks
is.
Right. Yeah. Well, the wife came in. I think it's time to call it. I forgot I'd promised my oldest son. He's created his own tabletop game, a playoff D&D, his own his own universe. He's created his own characters, his own rules, his own everything, and he's created the first campaign. And I promised I'd do it with him tonight. So
excellent.
If it was me, I'd be begging to be allowed to play.
Yeah, I know. I'm stoked.
That sounds great, man. You're living the dream, dude.
Thanks, guys.
And thanks for coming on. We'll wrap up now, but awesome chat tonight. You guys all rule. Gordy, thanks for calling in. Made it a lot more fun. And Mike, your boundless energy, enthusiasm, and the results of your effort are all of the evidence anyone needs that what you're doing works, and your philosophy on life is majorly full of keys, and can't wait to mix it up in the real life with you
Yeah, baby.
not too long from now, man. So I forgot to mention this somehow in the episode description. You'll see a link to get tickets to Music in Sky if it's something you want to do, and you can use the coupon code. What was it, Mike? Chance 50.
Chance 50, yeah, for 50
Chance
bucks
50,
off.
50 bucks off. So I'd hope to see you guys, a lot of you there, and really looking forward to it. Much love, Mike. Anytime you're welcome back on a Vibe Rant, call in, or we'll do a show just for you. Just let me know.
Sounds good. I'd love to jump on to with good old Gabriel too, because I love that guy. He reminds me of like an older brother I've never had. So
yeah, he's taking time off to be with his kiddo tonight too. So
cool.
Much love to Gabe.
That guy has some of the most interesting thoughts I've ever heard.
His brain's wired different. I don't know what it is.
Okay, guys. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Mike. Have a great night.
Thanks, Gordy. Good to have you on, buddy.
You too, buddy. Love you, Chance.
All right. Good night, everybody.